sessions where we discuss chapter by chapter. So we have reached the third canto, ninth chapter. So today's session is taken by Vinod Prabhu from Sanatan Goswami sector under Mahaprem Prabhu. Mahaprem Prabhu, you want to say something before we start?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes. So Vinod Prabhuji was there in US for many years, and recently, last 2-3 years, he moved back to India, and he is connected with ISKCON for more than 10-15 years, and very sincerely trying to understand the Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and also helping many people to understand. He also help others in terms of preaching efforts. And Mataji, Rohini Mataji is very dedicated in terms of preaching to others. So we are very much grateful to have Vinod Prabhuji with us. He is currently a manager in Deloitte, and he has more than 20 years of experience in industry. So he's still continue to work. Also, he helps in various preaching efforts. So I would like to request Vinod Prabhuji to proceed for this Bhagavatam session.
But one thing I would like to add is that I like his dance and kirtans.
Yes.
Full of enthusiasm, jumping high.
That's the only thing I can do, Prabhu. Yeah, so thank you, Prabhu, for introducing me, and thank you everyone for giving me this wonderful opportunity to meditate, and because over the past 2 days I've been meditating, reading, just to how I'm going to do this session, right? It's kind of give us an opportunity to think of Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam again and again. So thank you for giving me this opportunity, and I seek everyone's blessings today so that the right words come out at the right time, so that it becomes beneficial for all the listeners here. So thank you so much, Prabhu. Okay, so today the topic of discussion is, first of all, can everyone see my screen? Let me know, otherwise I can reshare.
Yes, Prabhu, it's visible, Prabhu.
Okay, so before we start, I will invoke Mangalachan prayers. Om Agnanatimrandasya Dhananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamahyam Dadati Swabdantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutan Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parjana Saitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarobhyascha Krupa Sindhubhe Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane. Okay, so the topic of discussion today is Brahma's prayers for creative energy, as covered by Prabhu last in the previous session, right? So Brahma was once he appears from the lotus flower, he kinds of he looks for, okay, where, I mean, he's like confused. Brahmaji was confused initially. Okay, where am I? Right, so it was darkness all around him, and then he was trying to find the root of that lotus stem, right? He goes to the bottom of the lotus stem and he comes back again, and then he hears the he hears the word tapa, and then he meditates, right? So in this today's discussion, so we'll cover, so finally when Lord appears, when he gets a vision of the Lord, So how is that, finally Brahma kind of, how he interacts with the Lord, and what is that he's looking for from the Lord, and finally he seeks the blessings from the Lord for him to create within this universe, because that's the ultimate purpose eventually. So today's contents, we will cover how Lord Brahma establishes the supreme position of the Lord, and again he kind of uh, praises or the all auspicious personal form of the Lord, and then he kind of discusses the situation of the living entities in this material world, especially all the material anxieties that plague the living entities, and then he praises or he glorifies the opulences of the Lord. Then Lord Brahma begs, again he begs for the mercy of the Lord for him to create, right? So this is the whole purpose of Brahma. So eventually he begs the Lord's mercy to create, and finally Lord is consoled by the Lord. I mean, like, Brahma is consoled by the Lord, and he gives his blessings to Brahma to proceed with creation. Lord Brahma acknowledges Lord Krishna as the supreme being, and he emphasizes that Lord Krishna is the ultimate knowable object beyond whom there is nothing supreme. If there is anything supposedly superior, it is not absolute. So at the end of Brahma's 100 years, right, when his meditation was complete, he developed the required knowledge, and as a result, he could finally get the vision of the Lord. So if you calculate, I mean, when we say 100 years, we need to calculate time. Brahma's time is calculated in Divya years, so which are distinct from our solar years or our human years. So Divya years are calculated as per Bhagavad Gita. It is Sahasra Yuga Paryantam Aharyat Brahmano Vidhu. So Brahma's one day is equal to 1,000 times. It's an aggregation of 1,000 times the Sahasra Yuga Paryantam, 1,000 times multiplied by, so one kalpa is 4.3 million years. So it's basically, that is just half day of Brahma, and then the same is equivalent to the night of Brahma also. So he meditated. So even if you calculate, it's so difficult to even to get that number or to think of that number also within our mind. So he meditated for 100 Divya years to finally understand who the God is, who the ultimate cause of everything, right? And then on that basis, Brahma meditated, and before he could understand the supreme cause of all causes, then he could understand the supreme cause of all causes, and then he compiled Brahma Samhita, right? So Brahma Samhita. So every time we see Brahma Samhita, we hear Brahma Samhita, we should feel so fortunate that after so many years of penance, that a ripened fruit called Brahma Samhita is we're able to read it, understand it, and Lord Chaitanya basically. I mean, we visited when we went to Trivandrum, where Lord Chaitanya retrieved that Brahma Samhita, right, from Adikeshwar temple. So yeah. So basically, I mean, it is imperative. It is imperative that every human being, basically, that's a duty of every human being to try for such knowledge, right? Otherwise, so basically, who am I? Where am I coming from? What is the root of everything? What is the cause of all causes? Yeah. So because there are so many theories out there, like we have Big Bang theory, we have steady state theory, we have multiverse theories, right? So these are all imaginative, more or less, right? So nothing is, everyone is coming up with their own theory, but no one knows what is the ultimate cause of all causes. And why a living being, I mean, also Lord Brahma expresses sorrow for the ignorance of living entities who fail to recognize Lord's divine personality, and what is impeding us from knowing that, yeah, so this is supreme personality of Godhead and he's cause of all causes, and it is Lord's own illusory energy that is impeding us from understanding the same. Then in further verses, Lord Brahma emphasizes the personal form and various expansions of the Lord. And he acknowledges that only through acts of penance can one appreciate Lord's beauty and opulence. So which leading to detachment from material attractions. So the present form or any transcendental form expanded by the Supreme Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna is equally auspicious for all the universes. So, I mean, we have this verse from Brahma Samhita, Deepachireva Dasantaram Abhyupetya, Deepayate Vivrita Hetu Samana Dharma, Yastadrigeva Hicha, Vishnu Taya Vibhati, Govindamadi Purusham, Tamaham Bhajami. So, although the original flame of Sri Krishna is accepted as Govinda, the Supreme Person, all other expansions such as Rama, Narasimha, Varaha are as potent as the original Lord. Srila Prabhupada gives an example in this context. So basically, if you take one candle and you lit up thousands of candles, right? So each and every candle has the same potency of the original candle, but the original candle, even though it still remains different, which is in this context, it is Krishna, even though he expands into multiple forms, right? Each and every form is all auspicious and they're all equally potent as the original form of the Lord. And then Lord Brahma, he condemns, okay, persons, because he condemns persons who are addicted to impersonal feature of the Lord, right? So impersonal is simply waste their time, right, in mundane mental speculation. So what does impersonalists do? They are addicted to false arguments like neti. So no. So basically they think that, yep, here everything is temporary. That means everything in the spiritual world should be permanent. Here everything has a form. They think that, everything in the spiritual world should not have a form. So Lord does not have a form. So they just engage in mental speculation. And then in Brahma's words, what Brahmaji is saying here in this specific chapter is they are pilgrims to hell, right? So basically, this mental speculation is, first of all, is very cumbersome, is very difficult. I mean, to go through that phase, and then also, and they are basically getting ready for them to go on a pilgrim to hell. That's what Brahmaji is saying here. So just like we go on pilgrimage to dhams, right? So people who are engaged in mental speculation, who are impersonalists, so they are on pilgrimage to hell. So again, I mean, we can quote some examples, right? How the impersonalists, in terms of impersonalism, we can quote some examples. For example, think of a baby in mother's womb, right? So initially, when the baby is conceived, I mean, when the child is conceived in mother's womb, it appears that baby is merged into mother's womb, right? So on the outset, they look like they're one and same. However, they have two separate identities, right? So eventually when the baby comes out and grows, and child cannot say, go back to the mother and say, Ma, I love you, I want to merge back into your womb, right? So that is impractical. So that's what impersonalists are doing, which is very impractical. So they want to merge back into the Brahmajyoti, impersonal Brahmajyoti form of the Lord. So the only way to reciprocate is to serve the mother as per the capacity of the child, right? So similarly, the same thing is expected. I mean, when we say devotional service, the expectation is we serve the Lord within as per our own capacity. And Lord Brahma also mentions, so there are two beautiful analogies given by Lord Brahma here. So persons who smell the aroma of your lotus feet, carried by the air of Vedic sound to the holes of the ears, accept your devotional service, right? So that's what we do. So when we come together, when we read from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, this is what primarily we're doing, so that eventually we become we accept devotional service. So basically, so how do you smell the aroma of the lotus feet? This is a beautiful formula given by Lord Brahma. So how you smell the aroma of the lotus feet of the Lord? So basically, any aroma, it has to get in touch with that sense object. Let's say you're smelling a beautiful flower. The air has to get in touch with that, let's say, flower. and then it has to carry the aroma to the nose, and then you breathe in the air to sense that. So similarly, for you to smell the aroma of the lotus feet, so it has to be touched, the air, I mean the sound has to be touched by the Vedic sound. So we have to speak from the scriptures. So when that goes through the holes of our ears, you accept devotional service. So similarly, there is another beautiful analogy given by Lord Brahma. Oh my Lord, your devotees can see you through the ears by the process of bona fide hearing, and thus their hearts become cleansed. So once it is cleansed, I mean, then Lord takes seat over there, right? So until unless the heart is cleansed by the hearing process, especially from a bona fide guru, representative of the Lord, so that is not going to happen, right? So you manifest yourself in the particular eternal form of transcendence in which they always think of you. So like ye yadha mam prapadyante tam tadhaiva bhajamyaham, right? So yeah, so Lord expands into multiple various expansions, and as the devotees want to serve the Lord, he appears in that specific eternal form, right? And in this connection, so it's very important to note that by process of bona fide hearing, right? So it's very important that we are hearing from a bona fide spiritual master, right? Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo vidu. So so Lord Brahma, I mean, if you think of it, right? So Lord Brahma himself, so we're in the disciplic succession chain of Lord Brahma himself, right? And then and then in this regard, there is a beautiful story, right? So how beneficial it is to hear from a bona fide spiritual master or a guru, right? Coming in the proper disciplic succession chain. So there is a story of Mrugari from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, where the story is discussed. So the story of Mrugari. So one time, Lord Narada, he was passing through the jungle. So he sees a deer, right, with arrows pierced in his, into his belly or into this body, and then his legs are cut, right, and it is whining in pain, right. It makes, I mean, Narada Muni, he becomes very, I mean, like compassionate about the creature, and he's like, he keeps walking, and he's a boar again in the same situation, right, with arrows pierced through his body and then legs cut off. And it's so basically the condition of these animals are they are neither dead nor alive, right? And they're suffering immensely. So Narada Muni, he gets curious, he wants to see who's that person, who is this person who's putting these animals in so much suffering, right? So he's neither killing them nor leaving them alone, right? He's just keeping them in half-dead situation, right? So he traces animals, and finally he encounters upon Mrugari, right? He looks like Lord Yamaraj personified himself, right? When he sees him, and then and then Lord Narada Muni inquires from him, Mrugari, so why are you not killing the animals? Why are you leaving them in a half dead situation, right? So because because of this you're incurring more sins, right? So Mrugari then replies, my lord, so this is how my father taught me how to kill, right? And then Narada Muni kind of explains him, how by killing each animal, right, he has to take those many births. Okay, so what are the number of animals he is killing in this lifetime? So he has to take those many births and get killed by that animal in the corresponding life. So basically, so we have this word mamsa, right? So when it comes to representation of a meat, I mean, when explain the meat in Sanskrit terms, it's mamsa. So mamsa means mam, right? So when I kill an animal, so mam means me, saha means you in Sanskrit. So basically, when I kill an animal, so we're kind of accepting to the fact that I become you and you become me, in the sense, uh, sorry Prabhu, am I drawing so many things? No. Yeah, so yeah, so mamsaha means, so we're accepting to the fact that, yeah, so I become you and you become me, and then you eventually, I get killed in whatever that animal form by that animal which takes the form of a human, right? So then Mrugari, he's taken aback, right? He's like becomes little afraid, and then he begs, mercy from Narada Muni, asking, Lord, what can I do? So please save from this. Okay. So then the Narada Muni immediately instructs him that, okay, you first of all you get rid of this bow and arrow, right? Then Mrugari is kind of confused, saying that, okay, Lord, how am I going to feed my family if I do this, right? Uh, so then Narada Muni instructs him, do not worry about that, so I will supply you food. Okay, I will supply you food. So what you do, you immediately go back, take your wife, go to in the forest, find a place close to the riverbed. You construct a small hut there, and then you install tulsi plant on an elevated platform, and you start chanting this Hare Krishna Mahamantra, right? You start chanting the holy names of the Lord, and then you daily circumambulate the tulsi plant, right? So that's the instruction he gets from Narada Muni. Okay. So then Mrugari follows the same. He goes and he establishes a small hut. Then he installs Tulsi, and then he starts chanting. And I mean, he was still worried, how am I gonna get my daily food supply, right? Because Narada Muni has promised that he will supply the food, but he was still a little, doubtful about that, right? But eventually what happens in this specific episode, all the villagers around, they come to know about this specific episode, and then they're like really awestruck. Okay, hey, Mrugari, this hunter who was killing these animals left and right, now he got the association of Narada Muni, and he has become a sadhu. So let's all go and offer him foodstuff, right? Yeah, it's not. I mean, when Narada Muni made that statement, it's not he personally coming and supplying the food, right? Basically all the villagers, they started supplying food, every day on a day-to-day basis, and Murugari and his wife, they were only accepting what they needed, uh, uh, and then living life like that. So eventually, and after some time, Narada Muni comes and visits, Mrugari again. So at that point of time, so when he sees Narada Muni, his guru, so what Mrugari does is, I mean, usually when we see any our Guru Maharaj or any great personalities, great devotees, we immediately fall flat and do Dandavat Pranams, right? But Mrugari, when he sees Narada Muni, he doesn't do it. So what he sees is, at the feet of Narada Muni, he sees a lot of ants roaming around here and there, right? So he kind of whisks them off with a cloth, okay? So and then does the Dandavat Pranam. So he could see the transformation, right? He was killing the animals and he was keeping them in half-dead situation. So from that state, so the power of hearing from bona fide, or a devotee, or a bona fide spiritual master. So that is the power, that he is so merciful, he has become so merciful that he is very aware of even the ants when he's walking, or even when he's doing Dandavat. So going further, Lord Brahma, he kind of explains. I mean, he kind of talks about uh, uh, the pitiable situation of the living entities, right? He says, "Oh my Lord, the people of the world are embarrassed by all material anxieties. They're always afraid. They always try to protect wealth, body, and friends. They're filled with lamentation and unlawful desires and paraphernalia, and they are avariciously base their undertakings on the perishable conceptions of me and mine." So he's explaining the situation of living entities in this specific, material world, right? In this material world, yes, I mean, the living entity is the spirit soul itself, right? Mamaivam sajiva baho jiva bhuta sanatana manashashtani indriyani prakriti stani karshati. So even though there's living entities or my parts and parcels, right, which are Tatastha Shakti means, right, because these living entities, sometimes they are in spiritual world, right, and then sometimes they are in this, they fall down into this material world, right. Manas Sashtani Indriyani, so they are covered by this subtle body of mind, intelligence, false ego, and this gross body, right, and then under the influence of the modes of the nature, so they assume that this body is me, I mean I'm this body, right. So because of that false ego, right, it's basically thinking that which is not, right. So assuming that it's me, is my body, me and mine, and I'm all in all, this body is an all in all, and then they are always afraid. Okay, so everything that is connected in this world is based on this bodily designation, right. It's first of all, it starts with my body, my family, my society or my colony, my gated community, or my so my state, my city, my state. I mean, it can go up to, this horizon of this false ego can go up to, as far as possible, even my country, even my world, right, my earth or my universe, it is still connected to the body, right. And then poor creatures, I mean, Lord Brahma continues to speak. Poor creatures are constantly perplexed by hunger, thirst, severe cold, secretion and bile, attacked by coughing winter, blasting summer, rains, and many other disturbing elements, and are overwhelmed by strong sex urges and indefatigable anger, right. So Lord Brahmaji is explaining, what are all the things, because these are all the sufferings that we go through in this material world, right. So Brahma, Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadi, Dukkha, Doshana, Darshanam. So even though we constantly go through all these things, right, so we still think that, I mean, we falsely assume that yes, I'm enjoying, right. So in spite of going through all these things, what are Brahmaji is explaining on a day-to-day basis. It's not that sometimes we feel this, right? On a day-to-day basis, we go through all these kind of perplexities in life. And Brahmaji continues to explain, oh my Lord, the material miseries are without factual existence for the soul, right? So these material miseries are all with respect to the body, and they're at the spiritual platform, they do not exist at all. Yet, as long as conditioned soul sees the body as meant for sense enjoyment, he cannot get out of the entanglement of material miseries, being influenced by your external energy, right? In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna himself says, Daivi hi esha gunamayi mama maya durtya mameva ye prapadyante maya metam tarantite. So the divine energy of mind is consisting of three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome, right? So this basically, this material world is kind of is guarded by Maya or Durga Devi, right? So basically, the moment, right. So basically atheists claim that there is no law, there is no god, God is dead, I'm God, right. So they come up with these multiple things, but God is there and his laws are there. So we need to understand, right, because sometimes people think that I don't believe in God, right. But we need to see, who's the, but Krishna is saying, or Lord Brahma is saying that, the Lord, by Lord's energy, we are being entangled into these material miseries, right. So basically, so mother nature, right, I mean, when we call mother material nature, she is represented by Maya, Durga Devi, and it's like her duty is to punish people who transgress the laws of nature, right. So we should ask the question, why am I suffering, right. Yeah, if you are so independent, if you believe there is no God, and we should ask, why am I suffering, right. Who is that that is making me suffer, right. So basically, in this world, it is Mother Durga. So basically, she is like guarding this fort of, this material nature, and whoever transgresses this laws established by the Lord, right, and then they are being punished one way or other. Okay, so that's why, I mean, therefore a pure devotee of the Lord, so he's not complaining, Lord Brahma is not complaining about living entities here. He is just he's just compassionate towards living beings. That's why, therefore, a pure devotee of the Lord, like Brahma and persons, in the disciplic succession, are always unhappy to see the perplexities of conditioned souls, right? Who are suffering the onslaughts of, adhyatmic, adibhautik, and adidaivic kleshas, right? So therefore, unless the devotees of the Lord, so that way devotees of the Lord, they take pity on them and then they teach them the right path, right? So we take so many, right, when we go out do book distribution, when we go out do preaching, so we take so many troubles, right? So because devotees in general, they are very compassionate about living beings, their poor condition of the living beings in this world, right? So the examples of Srila Prabhupada, right? At the age of 70, he went to US without a penny, and then he personally went through so many troubles, right? Which we cannot even imagine, right? And then he voluntarily took up so much so many troubles to eventually spread this uh, knowledge of Krishna or knowledge of soul. Lord Brahma continues. He continues to explain the opulence of the Lord, right? He says, "Lord is the Lord. You are the representation of indefatigable time. So you appear in past times to fulfill the obligations, the various sorry, it's not stated properly here. So you appear in the various species of living entities, sometimes even among animals lower than human beings, as well as among the demigods, to perform your transcendental pastimes, as well as to uplift your own principles of religion, right? So so here we can understand that, yeah. So he sometimes appear, right? So as in the avatar of fish, or sometimes in the avatar of a boar, right? So even though Lord Brahma is saying, even though you appear in the lower animals, right, in the low and among species lower than human beings, it is just to perform your, it's just a playful thing for you, right? You perform his transcendental pastimes, and to again to uplift your own principles of religion, right? So yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyudhanam adharmasya tadatmanam srujamyaham. So just to uplift, to uphold the principles of religion, Lord appears, out of his own sweet will, right? He appears in different forms, and he accepts the pleasure of sleeping in the water of devastation, where there are violent waves, at which time all the universal planets are stationed within the abdomen, right? So this is Garbhodaka Sai Vishnu, right? So he accepts the pleasure of sleeping in the water of devastation. So he's like peacefully sleeping, but these waters of devastation are so violent, right? Even when Brahma sees those that situation, right? So when he sees that those violent waves, even Brahma is afraid. Okay, but Lord is peacefully, sleeping on these violent waves of devastation. Like on his Anantasesha bed, where these violent waves are around him, and all the universal planets are stationed. So at that time, when there is so much of disturbance, all the planets, along with Brahma, they are stationed within his abdomen, right, in his navel, right. So they are safely stationed, and he's the one friend and soul of all living entities in the world, and he maintains all. So Lord Brahma continues to speak. So for their ultimate happiness, so you maintain them by all your 6 transcendental appearances. So in this regard, there is we can talk about one verse. So even though we see, because when Lord Brahma looks at Garbhodaka Sai Vishnu, even though he's like huge gigantic form, he's spread across all these 3 material worlds. When he sees them, like in the Achyuta Prabhu, as he mentioned in his previous session, that he kind of represents a coral mountain, right? So and then the garlands and all the jewels decorating his body. So think of it as a huge mountain with with huge garland. So it's so amazing a vision that Lord Brahma has, right? So so in this regard, Lord Krishna is saying, Yat Yat Vibhuti Mat Sattvam Srimat Urjitam Evava Tat Tat Evava Gachatvam Mama Tejom Sambhavan. So what are the wonderful things, right? So sometimes we get carried away by, the wonderful things in this material world, right? So we think that, yeah, these things are even bigger than Lord. For example, this entire cosmic manifestation, or sometimes even when people see, like, even if you go to this big waterfalls like Niagara Falls, right? Oh wow, I mean, these are like amazing. So what is Krishna saying? So all these glorious things that you see in this material creation, right, they are just a spark of my uh, opulence, right? It's just mama tejom sa sambhava, right? It is just, so whatever, so whenever you go out in the nature, when you appreciate something that is there, like big huge mountains, so you understand that it is just a fragrance of the opulence, I mean, like a fragmental part of the opulence of the Lord. Then Lord Brahma continues. So he continues, so now you're sleeping, your sleep having ended, your eyes are open like blossoming lotuses in the morning, right? So basically, once the water of devastation is dried up by the effulgence of the Lord, right? Lord finally opens up his eyes, just like a blossoming lotuses in the morning. Be merciful towards me. So he asks Lord, he begs for the mercy of the Lord, be merciful towards me as before, so that as before may be empowered with the introspection to create. For I'm also one of the surrendered souls who are dear to the Lord, right? So Lord Brahma is begging the mercy of the Lord here, right? He's asking the Lord to empower him. So we can understand here that, yes, I mean, in general, people talk about, yeah, Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara, right? So they think that they have their independent existence, right? But here you could understand that Lord Brahma, who is the creator within this material universe, he's seeking the mercy of the Lord. That means he is the secondary creator here. So that's what we need to understand from this point. And I pray only to engage in his service in the creation of the material world, and I pray that I am not materially affected by my words, for thus I may be able to give up the false prestige of being the creator. So he's again reinstating the fact that I'm not the creator, right? I'm not the creator. If I think that, so many times we do so many wonderful things when we go to, we do work, right? So sometimes, so when we're puzzled by some situation or puzzled by some challenge, we come up with a solution, right? We come up with a solution and we feel so proud. Okay, yeah, okay, I did this, and we worked so hard to establish the fact that I did this, right? So, but however, Lord Brahmaji is saying that that is a false prestige, right? So because Krishna is the one who is giving us the remembrance and intelligence from within, right? Even sometimes, my personal experience is so many issues that I come up with my work. Sometimes I get solutions out of nowhere, and then we should feel very, we should feel that, yes, my Lord, thank you so much, because He's the one giving us intelligence and, forgetfulness and memory. And continuing, I'm now engaged in manifesting his diverse energies in the form of cosmic manifestation. I therefore pray that in the course of my material activities, I may not be deviated from the vibration of the Vedic hymns, right? So Lord Brahma is further praying, so my Lord, I know this creation, right, is influenced by, in the matter of material creation, so it is influenced by the mode of passion, right? So he's praying to the Lord that I don't want, please don't bless me such a way that I don't get inflicted by this mode of passion, right, as I create. And I also don't get deviated from the vibration of Vedic hymns. So he also prays for that, right? So that's why it's important, even though we're in the material world, we're acting as if we're karmis. it is also important for us to have the association, so always have the association of devotees. That way we don't get deviated from the Vedic hymns of the Lord, right? That means every time we come together, we always discuss about either Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, or different scriptures. So like this, so Vedara kind of concludes, Maitreya Muni kind of, this is again the conversation if you step back a little bit. So this is again conversation between Maitreya Muni and Vidura. So Maitreya Muni kind of concludes at this point, tells Vidura that, yeah, after observing the source of his appearance, namely the personality of Godhead, and now Brahma prayed for his mercy as far as his mind and words would permit him, right? So basically, thus having prayed, he became silent, as if tired from his activities of penance, knowledge, and mental concentration, right? So basically, Brahmaji at this point of time, he's like, he's kind of tired. He's very much anxious on how I'm going to create, so what I'm going to do, how I'm going to position these, different planetary systems, how I'm going to give these, different bodies to these, all these subtle, to all these living entities who are submerged in the abdomen of, like they're in the water of devastation, right? So all these individual living entities, they are still there in unmanifested state, right? So at that point of time, so Lord Brahma is very much anxious. Okay, what I'm going to do, how I'm going to, uh, uh, position these planetary systems, what kind of bodies that I'm going to give them based on their past karma. So he's very much anxious, and he's very much perplexed about the situation. So at this point of time, so Lord, he could understand the intention of Brahma. So thus he spoke in deep thoughtful words, removing all the illusion that had arisen in his heart, in Lord Brahma, in Brahmaji's heart. So the Lord saw that Brahma was very anxious about the planning and construction of different planetary systems, and he sees that, yeah, he's depressed upon seeing the devastating water, right? So he's afraid and depressed by looking at the devastating water. And now the Lord speaks in sweet words. So he assures him, right? O Brahma, O depth of Vedic wisdom, be neither depressed nor anxious about the execution of creation. What you're begging from me has already been granted before, right? So Lord is assuring him that, so just like, in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, when Arjuna is perplexed, so I'm gonna fight with my relatives, with my guru, with my great grandfather, who are worthy of worship, right? But Lord kinds of tells him that, okay, so this is my plan. Sorry, Prabhu, I don't know where all these lines have come. I don't know how to erase them, but pardon me for that.
Yeah, even I was wondering, but I don't know how to. If anybody knows how to clear that,
Yeah,
I can.
Prabhu, we can do it. There is a annotate is there, and there is a erase option. But I think we can continue. That is only 10 minutes more.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry for that. Okay. Yeah. So coming back, you're begging from me. So in this case, I was talking about how Arjuna, when he was perplexed, right? So Lord kind of assures him, right? So you're just executing the plan, my plan, right? So basically you stay here, bhavamatra savyasach, right? So basically the power to fight, so whenever you're doing work for Lord, right? When you're acting for Lord, whatever is needed for you, whatever the intelligence, whatever the power, whatever the strength for you to execute that work, the Lord empowers them to execute that work. So here Lord is saying, whatever you're begging from me has already been granted before, right? So don't worry about that. Okay, so how do you invoke my mercy? How do you invoke that strength? So you just situate yourself in penance and meditation and follow the principles of knowledge to receive my favor, right? So that's all you have to do. So Krishna also says, Manmana Bhavamat Bhakto Madhyaji Mam Namaskar, right? So he eventually empowers the devotee to act, whatever the service he is doing, right? To provide it in the right mood and the right way, right? So moving on. So a continuation of Lord's consolation of Brahma. O Brahma, when you are absorbed in devotional service, in the course of your creative activities, you will see me in you and throughout the universe. You will see that you yourself, the universe, and the living entities are all in me. When you are free from the conception of gross and subtle bodies, and when your senses are free from all influences of the modes of material nature, you will realize your pure form in my association. And because your mind is always fixed on me, even though you will be engaged in generating various progeny, the vicious mode of passion will never encroach upon you. Right? So the Lord is indicating here that, so if you see this first two couple of statements, he is indicating that during his daytime, right? So during Brahma's daytime, he would see, the Lord, he's kind of indicating, right? So eventually during the day of Brahma, Lord Krishna appears and he's kind of giving a hint to Brahma that how he would appreciate how the Lord expanded himself. So in that episode of where Brahma steals all the calves and cowherd boys from Vrindavan, so Lord is kind of indicating them, eventually you will see, you'll experience this, how the Lord is expanded himself into all the calves during his childhood at Vrindavan, right? He would know how Yashoda Mai saw all the universes within his mouth, right? And all the planetary systems within his mouth, and then how his childful pastimes, right? And he would also see there are many millions of Brahmas during the appearance of Lord Krishna in Brahma's daytime. So he's kind of indicating that eventually you will experience all these things, right? So when he says that, yeah, you will see me in you and throughout the universe, and you will see me that you yourself and the universes and all living entities are all in me. So all these things that he's saying that he will experience too when Lord descends, right, during the day of Brahma in Vrindavan, when he performs all these beautiful pastimes. And also in this last statement, he's saying that, okay, in the second statement, when you're free from the conception of gross and subtle bodies, so when you're situated in your constitutional position. So what is your constitutional position? What is the constitutional position of any living entity? Right? It is like as given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It says, Jiver Swarupaya Krishnera Nityadas. Right? So we're not this. If you look at it from the bodily perspective, I'm not Vinod, I'm not a manager, I'm not whatever it is, right? So basically these are all bodily designations, which is again temporary, right? So if I take a birth again, I have to start from A, B, C, D again, right? I have to start all over again, even if you are Brahma, or even if you are Ambani, or even if you are Ant, right? If you take birth again, you have to start all over again, right? So, but that is not our constitutional position, right? Our constitutional position is you're always the servant, right? Gopi Bhattar Padakamalayo Dasa Dasa Dasanudas. So you're always, we may not realize it immediately, but we need to understand that we are always, our original position is always uh, the servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna. Lord Brahma continues, Lord continues to speak to Brahma. When you are contemplating whether there was a source to the stem of the lotus of your birth, and you even entered into that stem, right? So Lord Brahma jumps, right? So out of fear, out of the darkness that is surrounded, that is surrounded by him, around him, he just jumps into, out of fear, he jumps into the stem and wants to see what is the source of that stem. You could not trace out anything, but at that time, I manifested my form from within, right? So at that time, so Lord is saying that, when you are seeking for that, so at that time, I was the one who appeared in your heart, and then I kind of prompted you to do meditation or tapa. O Brahma, the prayers that you have chanted, praising the glories of my transcendental activities, the penances you have undertaken to understand me, and your firm faith in me, all those are to be considered my causeless mercy. So the personality of God, so here it's very important to understand, right? So sometimes, so we may become proud, right? Okay, hey, so I'm a nice devotee. I've been in this, in ISKCON or practicing this for so many years. But unless there is a mercy of the Lord, he cannot proceed, or even without the mercy of the spiritual master, he cannot even progress a step, right? The personality of Godhead can be experienced only by his causeless mercy and not by mental speculation or any personal endeavors, right? So just like now, so we're manufacturing the planes and rockets, right? He cannot even, with the help of these material means, he cannot even travel from one planet to another planet. Even if you travel, he can only stay there for momentarily for some time, and you have to come back because he cannot find shelter over there in any other planet, right? So we, by means of so many material means, he cannot understand Lord, or through research, or through years of research, through white papers or whatever it is, he cannot understand. So from the mental plane, right? So in Brahma Samhita, it is said that Vayorathapi Manaso Munipungavana. So even the best of scientists, with the help of their at the mental plane, right? So he cannot understand Lord, right? So you need to hear from the bona fide spiritual master, and then you need to, eventually the Lord has to bless you, right? He has to reveal himself, otherwise we cannot personally understand. And when a living entity desires to serve the Lord in transcendental loving service, the Lord helps the devotee in so many ways as the Chaitya Guru, right? Or the spiritual master within, right? So basically, when we personally endeavor to serve the Lord, he either comes, he gives us that capacity from within the heart, or through so many support structure, right? So for example, here I'm sitting and I'm being supported by so many senior devotees here, right? Otherwise, I don't have the strength to sit here and speak, to speak these words. So it's like gnana deepena bhashvatah. So right, so by the lamp of knowledge, I give that intelligence from within. So like whatever the prayer, so Lord is also mentioning whatever the capacity to meditate upon me, right? So the all these prayers that are coming out of your mouth, right? So these are all by my mercy only that you are able to do all this. And finally, Lord concludes, right? So he kind of concludes this conversation with Lord Brahma. So it is the opinion of expert transcendentalists that the ultimate goal of performing all traditional good works, penances, sacrifices, charities, mystic activities, trances, etc., is to invoke my satisfaction, right? So Lord says, Bhoktaram Yagnatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. So whatever the penances that we're doing, whatever the activities they're doing, and Lord is the ultimate enjoyer of that. So I'm the super soul of every individual. I'm the supreme director and the dearest. People are wrongly attached to the gross and subtle bodies, but they should be attached to me alone, right? So Lord is kind of indicating that. So yes, you may be temporarily attached to your family, to your, that is kind of natural, but that is not all in all. Like, to your family, to your friends, and extended family and all. But that is false attachment. So he's saying you should only be attached to me alone. So after instructing Brahma, the creator of the universe, to expand the primal Lord, the personality of Godhead in his personal form as Narayana, he disappeared, right? So, so again, I mean, if you talk about this perfection of activity, yeah, so when we talk about this transcendent, all these good works out there, right? Penances, sacrifices, right? So we should only do this in attachment to Krishna, as exemplified by Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So initially he was a good, non-violent man. So he did not want to fight with his kinsmen, right? But he understood that Krishna wanted to fight, and he has arranged at Kurukshetra, right? That was Krishna's plan, right? And then he eventually, so that is the right decision for all intelligent man, basically, to understand what the intention of the Lord, or what is that the Lord wants, and act accordingly. So moving on. So that kind of concludes this chapter, right? Again, I mean, there are some key learnings. I would say, I would ask again, I would beg all the devotees here to add to this key learnings. I mean, these are all the things that I could gather based on what I read so far. And these are some key learnings. So again, I mean, so of all the Vedas, Lord Krishna is to be known, and there is nothing beyond the Lord, right? So Brahma established that he is the source of everything. So Lord Krishna is the original creator, and rest are all are secondary creators, right? So whatever the amazing things, amazing creations by so-called science, or whatever the other things that we see in this world, they're all secondary creators. We're just trying to imitate the original creator. And seek mercy from the Lord in all endeavors by abandoning pride and envy. So always seek mercy from the Lord, right? In all the endeavors, and approach him with humility. And devotion service, especially chanting and hearing the glories of the Lord through parampara system, is the only way to understand the Lord. All other means are cumbersome and futile. With that, I will conclude this session. Mahaprem Prabhu or Premadat Prabhu. Or I mean, I will open this up for any questions, and then we can discuss. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, anybody has any question or comments? Anybody wants to add anything?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandal Pranam. Very, very beautiful class, and so perfectly organized. So no room for asking so many questions. One very striking thing you mentioned in the concluding slide was, how dependent even Lord is on his devotees. Says, as per expert transcendentalist, you should do everything for me. That's what he's saying. So it's a very, very striking thing. It's very that also makes Lord so endearing to all of us. How much he shows that he's dependent on the devotees for everything. So he's not himself saying, he's saying that as per expert transcendentalists. That was very, very beautiful. The one technical question which was coming to the mind was, it is mentioned that Lord Brahma meditated for this 100 celestial years, which is also considered to be the life expectancy of Lord Brahma. So that is almost reaching the end of his life expectancy. So how the creation continues? So it may be a very stupid question, but this keeps coming into the mind. Yes. Or how the creation goes on.
In fact, I mean, I had the same question, Prabhu. So I will look towards Mahaprem Prabhu or Prem that the Prabhu takes to answer that.
I don't know. Maybe that's the reason he is always like an old man. No.
And I was thinking this is just after all that meditation, I don't know. I mean, this is again first day of Brahma, right? I mean, I think I read one of Prabhupada's purpose that we are in just the first day of Brahma, right? And then he has 100 of so much years, right? Yeah, Prabhu, Mahaprabhu Prabhu, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna. So, uh, although it's like expectation is 100 years of Brahma will be there, so possibly one thing that we can consider is when Lord is giving empowerment. So, if Lord is giving, yes, you should do all these things. So it means Lord is giving the power to stay long as well, so that the creation can continue. So in general rule is that okay, 100 years of Brahma will end his journey, but when Lord is empowering, then he has to continue. So it's like when he is ready for the creation and when Lord empowers, then he has to continue.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Any other questions?
The striking point which I like was that, only by the Lord's mercy, it is possible to understand the Lord. I know for last couple of chapters, that is the theme. But here it is more exclusively or explicitly visible that, that only by the mercy of the, even in bhakti, if we are totally dependent on the mercy of the Lord. So I think by, as Prabhu in last slide said, only by humility, and that gratitude, by abandoning pride, yeah, that's the right word. So, we can understand Lord. Otherwise, a Brahma who is intelligence personified, he himself is saying that I cannot understand. So these chapters, although they are very philosophical and technical in nature, but the very striking lessons they give for our devotional service. So very nice. Thank you, Prabhu. Very wonderful session and very well organized. As Rajeshwar Prabhu said, that there's not much scope of mind to wander around. It was, the slides were very captivating. So very nice.
Pardon me, Prabhu, if I've committed any mistakes or spoken out of ignorance. It's my shortcomings rather than,
Very interesting. Very interesting session.
Thank you.
Mahaprabhu Prabhu, you want to add something before we close?
Just like the prayers are so amazing, like it is coming directly from the heart of Brahmaji. Like before starting a very heavy work, how he is anxious. For us also, whenever we want to deliver a session, we will be very much anxious. So through Brahmaji, we learn a lot in terms of we should always surrender to Lord, and when we seek for the mercy, then the task that seems very very complicated becomes very easy. So it's amazing. When I read the prayers, they are all coming from heart. It's a practical aspect. So previously I used to see all the prayers look similar, but when we go into deep, they have a very very different flavors coming out differently. So amazing learning sessions is there. So thank you very much, Vinod Prabhuji, for putting so much endeavor. We had multiple reviews, discussion, and he has done a lot of hard effort studying properly, making notes, identifying references. So thank you, Vinod Prabhuji, for taking the time out. Although he's super busy in office work, but still he has made the time. So I really very much thankful to Vinod Prabhuji for taking this session, and we can chant one time Hare Krishna Maha Mantra for as a expression of our gratitude for taking this session. Anything else to be added, Prabhuji?
No, Prabhu. I think that's perfectly fine.
Okay.
Only
Hare
thing,
Krishna, Prabhu.
I think when we say, Swami Prabhu, you were saying something?
Yeah, so firstly, I would like to apologize for joining late and not introducing Prabhu. I think there would have been some anxiety. Okay, who will be introducing in absence of myself? So I would like to apologize. And a wonderful class by Vinod Prabhu, very systematic and not missing any point. It is really challenging to take sessions on technical aspects of Bhagavatam, especially when the whole chapter is only about prayers and there is nothing happening. So it was a wonderful session by Vinod Prabhu. So I was just trying to look into the previous question which was asked, like if Lord Brahma himself has meditated, was it 1,000 celestial years or 100 celestial years? I am not
100 celestial.
100.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just tried to look into the definition of celestial year from Vani quotes. I could see that a celestial year would be around 2.1 million human years. Then if you look at 100 celestial years, it could be probably 200 or probably 210 million years of ourselves. And from our calculation, Brahma's age would be, I think, probably 300 trillion years or 300 trillion
311,
years.
60 trillion years something.
Yeah.
Even is a difficult to
Yeah. So
pronounce the number. That's
yeah, so I think what we get is like the measurement of 100 celestial years is not actually the 100 years of Lord Brahma. It could be like a demigod, no celestial year, which is not probably equal to 1 year of Lord Brahma. So I think Brahma spent probably 10% of his lifetime meditating before creating. So he factually had 90% of his time. And today, no, as it is described in scriptures, like we are probably on, he's in 50 years, and today is the first day of Brahma, of his 51st year, if I'm not wrong. So anyway, I just wanted to add few points on that question. So thank you for your wonderful session, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for highlighting that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm very grateful to everyone for patiently sitting around and giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
So we'll chant Hare Krishna mantra for Vinod Prabhu, praying to the Supreme Lord. Bless him, his wonderful family, his kids, so that everybody can wonderfully make progress spiritually and serve the spiritual master, serve Srila Prabhupada, serve the movement wonderfully. Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.